Elena staggered through the pouring rain, her thin coat soaked through, clinging to her like a second skin. The wind howled like a beast, whipping her dark hair across her face as she clutched the crumpled eviction notice in her fist. "You're out, Elena. No more extensions," the landlord had snarled, his eyes cold, as he slammed the door on her last plea. But that wasn't the worst of it. No, the gut punch came from Mark, her boyfriend of 2 years, the one she'd supported through his endless job searches while scrubbing toilets to pay their rent. He'd texted her that morning, "Found someone better. Don't come back." Just like that, abandoned, betrayed, left with nothing but a duffel bag of clothes and a heart shredded into pieces, she wiped the rain, or were those tears, from her eyes, spotting a faded help wanted sign flapping in the storm outside a sprawling, decrepit mansion on the edge of town. Blackwood Manor, they called it. Rumors swirled about the place, haunted, cursed, owned by some reclusive family no one ever saw. Desperation clawed at her throat. What choice did she have? Knock on the door, beg for the maid job, or sleep on the streets? Elena pounded on the heavy oak, her knuckles raw. The door creaked open, revealing a stern-faced woman in a starched uniform. Mrs. Hargrove, the housekeeper, eyed her up and down. "You're hired," she said flatly, without even asking for references. "Start now. Basement needs cleaning first." Elena's stomach twisted as she followed Hargrove down the dimly lit stairs, the air growing thick and musty, laced with something metallic like blood. Why did her skin prickle like this? It wasn't just the cold. It was as if the walls whispered secrets she wasn't meant to hear. Hargrove handed her a bucket and mop, then vanished up the stairs without a word. Alone in the gloom, Elena started scrubbing, her mind replaying Mark's betrayal over and over. How could he? She whispered to herself, her voice echoing off the stone. She was kind to kind, everyone said. Always giving, always forgiving. But what had it gotten her? A life of scraps, misunderstood by a world that saw her as weak. As she moved deeper into the basement, a low growl rumbled from behind a rusted iron door at the far end. Elena froze, her heart slamming against her ribs. Was that an animal? She should run, call Hargrove. But something pulled her closer, a strange, magnetic urge she couldn't explain. Her hand trembled as she touched the door, finding it unlocked. With a creak that sent chills down her spine, it swung open. Inside, chained to the wall, in a pool of dim moonlight filtering through a cracked window, was a man. No, not just a man. He was massive, his muscular frame straining against the silver chains that bit into his skin, drawing thin lines of blood. His eyes glowed amber in the dark, locking onto hers with a feral intensity that made her breath catch. "Who the hell are you?" he snarled, his voice deep and commanding, like thunder rolling in from a storm. Elena stumbled back, dropping the bucket with a clang. This wasn't possible. He looked wild, dangerous, yet there was a regal air about him, like a king dethroned. I'm Elena," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "The new maid." What are you doing down here?" His lips curled into a smirk, but pain flashed in those piercing eyes. "Maid? Figures they'd send someone disposable." He shifted, the chains rattling, and Elena noticed the scars crisscrossing his bare chest, old wounds, fresh bruises. Her heart ached unexpectedly. She wanted to help, to soothe, even though every instinct screamed danger. Why did she feel this pull toward him, like an invisible thread tugging at her soul? "Disposable?" she echoed, stepping closer despite herself. The air between them crackled with tension, his scent musky, earthy, intoxicating, filling her senses. He watched her like a predator, but there was a flicker of something else. Surprise? "Who did this to you?" He laughed bitterly, the sound echoing off the walls. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you, little maid. Now get out before you get hurt." But Elena didn't move. She couldn't. Her fingers itched to touch the chains, to free him. What was wrong with her? This man was a stranger, locked away for God knows what reason. Yet, in his presence, a warmth stirred deep inside her, a forgotten fire she'd never known existed. As the minutes ticked by, Elena found herself kneeling beside him, her kind nature overriding her fear. "Let me at least clean those wounds," she said softly, dipping a rag into the bucket. He tensed as she approached, his muscles coiling like a spring ready to snap. "Don't," he warned, his voice a low growl. But she persisted, her touch gentle on his skin. He hissed at the contact, but didn't pull away. Up close, He was even more imposing, broad shoulders, chiseled jaw, hair as dark as midnight. Alpha, her mind whispered inexplicably. Where had that word come from? Tell me your name, she urged, her eyes meeting his. The intensity there made her pulse race. It was like staring into a storm she wanted to get lost in. Damien, he finally grated out, his gaze never leaving hers. Damien Blackwood. And you, Elena, have no idea what you've walked into. Blackwood? As in the manor? Her mind reeled. Was he the owner? The rumors, the isolation. It started to click, but not quite. As she bandaged a gash on his arm, their hands brushed, sending a jolt through her body like electricity, but warmer, deeper. Damien's eyes widened fractionally, a crack in his cold facade. What was that? Regret? No, couldn't be. He was too dominant, too unyielding. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from above. Hargrove? Elena's heart leaped to her throat. Hide, Damien whispered urgently, his voice laced with command. But before she could react, the door upstairs slammed open. What if they found her here? What if they locked her up too? Elena pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath as the footsteps descended. Closer, closer. Who's down there? Hargrove's voice barked, sharp as a whip. Damien's eyes locked on Elena's, a silent plea, or was it a warning? Burning between them. She mouthed, "What do I do?" But he just shook his head subtly, his chains clinking softly. The footsteps paused at the iron door. Elena's mind raced. Run? Scream? But that pull, that inexplicable connection, kept her rooted. The knob turned, and then nothing. The footsteps retreated, Hargrove muttering something about damn rats. Elena exhaled shakily, sliding down the wall. Damien watched her, his expression unreadable, but his voice was softer when he spoke. You shouldn't have come back here, but thank you. She nodded, her emotions swirling: fear, curiosity, and something hotter, more forbidden. Why are you chained? Who did this? He hesitated, his jaw tightening. My own kind, betrayed by those I trusted. I'm not like you, Elena. His eyes flickered to the window, where the moon was rising, full and ominous. A shiver ran through her. The moon had always called to her in ways she couldn't explain, pulling at her dreams with visions of forests and howls. Not like me? She pressed, leaning in. The space between them felt charged, his dominance radiating like heat from a fire. She wanted to resist, but her body betrayed her, inching closer. I'm a Lycan, he said flatly, watching for her reaction. King of my pack. Or I was, until they locked me away to steal my throne. Lycan. Werewolf? Her rational mind screamed impossible, but deep down, a part of her resonated with it like a memory buried in her bones. Elena's breath caught. That's crazy. But was it? Flashes came unbidden. Childhood nightmares of shifting shadows, her parents' hushed whispers before they abandoned her at an orphanage, saying she was different, misunderstood. Always on the outside. Damien's gaze softened for a split second, then hardened. You think I'm lying? Look at me. He strained against the chains, muscles bulging, a low growl building in his throat. Elena's heart pounded not just from fear, but from the raw power he exuded. She reached out, her fingers, tracing the silver links. They burned her skin slightly, but she didn't pull away. Why didn't it hurt more? Because you're not ordinary either, he murmured, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. Their faces were inches apart now, his breath warm on her cheek. Tension coiled tight, slow and burning, like a fuse lit in the dark. Elena's thoughts raced, his cold exterior cracking, revealing glimpses of vulnerability. Did he regret pushing her away earlier? His eyes said maybe, but his words stayed guarded. Suddenly, a howl pierced the night from outside, echoing through the manor. Damien's head snapped up, his body tensing. They're coming back. You need to leave, Elena, now. But I can't just, she started, but he cut her off with a fierce glare. Go. Before they sent you. Sent? Her mind whirled. As she backed toward the door, another howl closer this time. What if they found her with him? What if the shocking truth was about her too? Elena slipped out, closing the door just as shadows moved in the hallway above. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Damien's words echoed. Not ordinary. What did he mean? She pressed a hand to her chest, feeling a strange heat building inside, like something awakening. The next day, dragged like molasses, Elena's mind fixated on the basement. She scrubbed floors upstairs, but every creak made her jump. Hargrove watched her suspiciously, her beady eyes narrowing. Stay out of places you don't belong, she warned. But Elena nodded absently. How could she? Damien's face haunted her, those amber eyes, that commanding presence. Cold on the surface, but underneath, fire. During her break, she sneaked down again, heart in her throat. The door was still unlocked. Damien was there, weaker now, the chains, digging deeper. You came back, he said, surprise lacing his tone. Was that relief? I had to, she admitted, kneeling beside him. Tell me more. About you. About Lycans. As she tended to his wounds again, their conversation flowed in hushed tones, him revealing bits of his world, pacts, full moons, the betrayal by his beta, who craved the crown. Elena listened, her empathy drawing her in deeper. But she shared too her abandonment, the betrayal by Mark. The loneliness that mirrored his own isolation. You're stronger than you know, he said gruffly, his hand chained but reaching, brushing hers. The touch ignited sparks, slow burning desire, mingling with unspoken regrets. Did he wish he'd never been king? Or was it something about her that stirred remorse in his icy heart? A noise upstairs, voices, multiple. Elena froze. Who's that? Damien's eyes darkened. The pack. They're here for me. Panic surged. If they found her, she bolted up the stairs, but paused at the top, hearing Hargrove's voice. The maid? She's been snooping. Betrayal again? Elena's blood ran cold. What if they knew about her visits? That night, under the full moon's glow, Elena couldn't sleep. Restless, she wandered the halls, drawn back to the basement like a moth to flame. But as she descended, a searing pain ripped through her body, bones aching, vision blurring. What was happening? Damien's voice called from below. Elena, fight it. She burst through the door, collapsing near him. His eyes widened in shock. No, it can't be. The shocking truth hit him like a freight train, regret flooding his features as he realized what she truly was. But before he could explain, howls erupted outside, the door rattling violently. They've come for us both, he growled, straining against his chains. Elena's world spun as her body began to change, the moon's pull, unleashing something primal. The door buckled under the assault. What was she becoming? And would Damien's regret turn to salvation or destruction?